Hello everyone, I'm Rafael Alvarez and this is Alvarez Metalworks. So as you can see here, we've got some more work done on the tow rig project. I'm not going to do any work in this video. This video is just me flapping my gums. So if you don't want to hear me flap my gums, wait for part 6 of the video series. The point of this video is for me to give you some dimensions, give you some information about weight, and cover some of the fine detailed information and issues that I need to address and some of those things that I'm going to be figuring out over the next few days before I get to next weekend's task of work. And some of the work I'm going to try to do during the week. Anyway, all the framing for the sleeper is done with the exception of the horizontal bracing that's going to go in for the sheet metal to weld to. I decided I'm going to make that out of 3/4 inch square tube. Because it's not super structural. I mean, it will add some structure to it, but ultimately what it is just to hold the seam for the sheet metal. But the big reason is because I need to run wires up this back wall. The batteries are going to be here underneath the seating that's going to run left to right, and I need to be able to run all the wiring for the lights. I'm going to have some lights back here that shine rearward. Like some work light type stuff, plus the interior electrical and all those things. So I want to put a TV inside of this and, some other features, an inverter, and maybe eventually some solar panels. I'm not sure. Depends on how much I like it. But anyways, I need space to run those wires, and I don't want to have to be pulling interior panels off and drilling holes through all the this 1 inch by 2 inch rectangle tube to run wires and risking, chafing on the wire insulation and shorts and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and run that 3/4 inch for all of that. And that'll give me, 1 1/4 inch worth of room to run wires between that and the paneling. So let's talk about the interior real quick. Measurements. The interior distance between the front wall to the back wall inside is basically 65 inches. Compensate for the thickness of the interior panels. I would say if you're to overestimate that, lop off an inch. Okay. The width, this side to that side. Exterior is 8 feet. Interior, again, take off 2 inches for each side because of the thickness of the wall plus, the interior paneling. So you're probably dealing with, let's just say 5 inches off 96 inches, so 91 inches interior width. Okay. The height, we're talking about 61 inches. What, 59? Hold on. 59, 60, 61. Let's just say we're at 59 to 60 inches tall. I'm going to put some plywood floor on top of the sheet metal floor for strength and also so that it's something that can be removed and put in. I can work on it outside of the ambulance and then bring it in and set it in place once it's done. And I can put carpet on that, and if I decide, hey, carpet got ruined or whatever, I just pull the floor panel out and swap it out. Pull the interior paneling off of it. I'm not sure how it's going to be affixed to the floor. I may run some sound deadening. I'm not entirely sure just yet, but it doesn't really matter. That's way later in this build. But I've got I'm just telling you that because the thickness of the floor will dampen the interior height. Now I'm 6'1", so obviously I'm going to have to duck down when it comes down to getting in the sleeper. But the only time I'm going to be in this sleeper is, if I'm changing clothes, which I'll be sitting down because I'm fat, or if I'm in there sleeping. So in all those situations, I'm not going to be standing up. My wife's short, my kids are short. So they'll be fine in there. They'll have to duck their head a little bit, but not too bad. The seats. Now, I'm going to run a cross brace all the way across here because there's going to be a little box. It's not little, it's actually quite big, that the seats sit on. That cross brace is going to be on this third stud, 1, 2, 3. It's either going to be welded to the inside or this side edge. There's a 2-inch difference if I do that, but I'm going to figure that out tonight. I've got to go inside and measure the seats and decide where I want that to be at. As far as the height of that box, it's either going to be 11 inches or 12 inches. And I know you guys, well, what the hell's the difference between 1 inch? There's going to be batteries inside of here, so that inch is going to be a big deal, because when it comes time to wiring up those batteries, or if I have to remove those batteries or any of that stuff, and when I'm doing electrical work in there, 1 inch makes a big damn difference, okay? So I'll figure that out and decide from there, but I'm going to run that cross brace across there, and then the bracing that I do across the top here is going to have to be very, very strong in the areas where the seats mount to. In a situation where I get into a car accident or something like that, I cannot have this done shoddy, because I don't want the seats to rip out. I don't want the safety belts to rip through the sheet metal or anything like that. So it's very, very important that structure is built very, very strong where the seats bolt to. Plus, there's going to be a lot of weight on it when it comes time for my fat body to lay on that. So that's something to look at. That's actually going to be my next step in what I do here. I've got enough material to start doing all the skirting and to start on the seat. The skirting is going to be made up of some of the 1x2 as well as that 3/4 inch stock that I have. But yeah, and then the other stuff that I'm going to be doing, I've talked about this before, is a step. It's going to be made out of 1 3/4 tube, 1/8 inch wall tube. That's going to come out, it'll bend, it'll come running down the side of this thing. It'll stick out maybe about 1/4 inch from the bottom of the skirting, and it's going to act as some side protection. It'll protect the skirting in an event where, if I'm going down some dirt roads and some branches or things or whatever kicks up, and it'll protect that side skirting from getting damaged. But in an event where I take a side impact, that railing, that step, is going to be all welded to the frame. So that's going to be structural in that kind of situation as well, and that's why I'm putting it there. Let's talk about weight real quick, because I know that weight is something that you guys have all mentioned. Number of, depending on where I post the videos or the pictures, everybody's like, oh, that looks heavy. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's going to be very, very heavy, but right now it's not. All of the steel tubing that I have, that I purchased for this project, and not all of it is on here, because I have about 170 something inches of here. I've got a full length of tube over here, which is 288 inches, and then I've got 4 lengths of 4 288 inch lengths of this 3/4 inch tube. The round tube you're seeing here was purchased at another time. That's actually 2-inch 1/4 inch wall DOM for this, but I'm going to be using one of those for the rear bumper and the rear trailer hitch, bumper hitch. Maybe some of it too for the gooseneck build. Anyway, all of that weighs in, just the tubing weighs in at 571 pounds. So what you're seeing here on the chassis right now, if you don't count the sheet metal that I'm using as a workbench, we're probably floating somewhere around 500 pounds, okay? Maybe a little over, but not too much over 500 pounds worth of tubing that has created this structure. Now, the sheet metal all by itself, that's 2 sheets of 1/8 inch plate, and that, I don't know how many sheets of 18 gauge I got. I could count them, but I don't really feel like it. That's 972 pounds worth of metal. So we're talking about almost double the weight when it comes to the sheet metal that's on here. That is a big reason why the sheet metal is going to be a major, major component in the structural integrity of this build. It is very, very heavy, and it would be very stupid for me to not utilize its strength to create like a unibody type structure that is ultimately bolted to the cutaway chassis. So everything will be fully welded. You won't see any seams whatsoever. I mean, even between the transition from the bed to the side skirting, I want that to be as seamless as possible. I plan on welding it all the way down and grinding that smooth, and using body fillers where I got to use body fillers, because when the Monstaliner goes on it, you know, the only seams I want you to see is between the two different colors of Monstaliner that I plan on using, which is red and black. I'm going to be using the red that's on my truck for the main red color of the, you know, the tow rig, but the bed and certain other aspects of it will be black. Now, kind of lost my train of thought here. Let's talk about, did I tell you the height of this thing? I don't know. If I didn't tell you the height, I'm gonna tell you right now. If I told you it, oh well. From the ground to the very, very top of this thing, the roof, we're currently sitting at 91 inches. Now, my shop door, when the door is pulled all the way open, I can pull the door open past the door frame. The frame, when you're measuring from the little bump up that happens to be a water dam to keep water from coming into my shop, to the bottom of that frame, we're almost at 95 inches. I'm just saying 94 just to give myself some leeway. It's better to in that type of situation, it's better to say that it's less than it is to be spot on, because if there's any kind of variable that makes my overall height a little too much, we're going to be dealing with a situation where I'm lowering the air pressure in these tires to get this thing out of my shop. So, with that being said, right now we're 3 inches away from where I'm setting my height limit to, and realistically my height limit is going to be set at 93 inches. That 1 inch of whatever is what I'm hoping to be below. Now, we got, 2 inches before I get to that, but I'm going to be putting on a roof rack type setup, and we're not going to talk about the details of that right now. But I'm going to be using some 1 3/4 inch tube to create a roof rack style kind of detachable lumber rack thingy, whatever, so that I can haul steel with this thing when it comes time for me to do that. That will add about 1 3/4 to the overall height. I'm just ballpark measuring it to 2 inches, because I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with the mounting just yet. I'll deal with that later. But that's part of the height that I've already compensated for, and one of the other things too is that this rear section here is actually higher than this section here, and it's not because I made it that way, it's because the chassis is sitting at a little bit of a rake. Okay, the difference, I don't really know what it is currently. I'm not going to go measure it, but as I add another 1,000 pounds to sheet metal to this thing, it's going to sag down a little bit, which is going to give me a little bit more clearance. That's not something that I'm crossing my fingers for and hoping for, but it's something that I have in the back of my mind to ensure that I know that I'm okay. There's a factor that could change that, and it's the fact that I plan on replacing the leaf springs on this. The leaf springs that are currently on here are very rusty and crusty. I know the driver's side sags, so I may have a cracked leaf on that side or something. I'm going to replace these with heavy duty versions, which takes them from a 9-leaf spring to a 10-leaf leaf spring. And what that may end up doing is it may create a situation where my overall height doesn't even budge, even with the weight that I'm adding to it. So we'll see. The leaf springs are something I'm hoping to purchase within the next couple of paychecks. And once I get all this stuff pulled off of here, then I'm going to work on that. But that's a little bit down the road before I actually get to swapping out those things and getting to work on this frame, as far as cleaning it up and painting it. Anyway, with that being said, let me show you one last detail so I'm not making this video way too long. I haven't done the body mounts, and I'm not going to do the body mounts until I'm ready to cut the tacks. See that little tube right in there? That's what's supporting the weight of this in the front. In the back, I've got some tubing stacked up to support it, so everything is sitting where it needs to sit. So when I build my body mounts, that I'm building them off of where I want this thing to sit finally. Now, the body mounts will crush down a little bit under the weight. It is what it is. If it sags down, I've built this in a way where we're still going to be okay even if it squishes down a bit, but I don't anticipate a whole heck of a lot of that. Anyway, the problem is that I can't start working on them now because of this situation. See that gap right there? That's about 3/8 of an inch. Now, granted, I'm going to have some sheet metal there, and I'm going to have the thickness of the Monstaliner that I'm going to paint this entire thing with. If you're unfamiliar with Monstaliner, that is what I've done Project Pathfinder in. That is their website right there. That is the product, and it's going to be on kind of thick. So I need, that'll be something that gets rid of a little bit of this gap, but not a whole heck of a lot of it. The issue is, if you look down here, I got this little panel. It's like a little access panel at the bottom of the cab here. And there's the screws and the thickness of that metal, and the flange is kind of bent on the driver's side. So it's not allowing me to push it all the way forward. So whatever point I decide to start working on the body mounts, I'm going to cut all the welds, and the goal is going to be to clamp this thing and pull it as tight as I can to the cutaway chassis before I start building my mounts. And the reason being is that mounts are not designed to allow the body to shift side to side or front to back. When they're in and they're bolted tight, this thing is not going to want to move. So if I've got a big gap between this wall and the sleeper cab wall, when it comes time to bolt them together, I'm going to have issues. So I need to get rid of that gap before I build my body mounts. Anyway, with that being said, I think I've pretty much covered all the details that I wanted to speak about. If you guys have any questions or anything about what you're looking at, feel free to comment in the comment section on YouTube or wherever you're watching this video, and I'll do my best to answer the questions. Sorry about the length of this video, but there's some things I wanted to talk about and cover those questions and things that you guys are thinking about, and in a video where I'm not actually doing work. So thanks for watching. Like always, subscribe, comment, like. Make sure to check out roarksupply.com. Use coupon code METAL to get 10% off anything you order from them. With that being said, thanks for watching, and talk to you guys later.